Hi, welcome. It's Cassie. I'm so glad you're here for this tutorial today. I'm going to show you how to make some fake Oreos, and they turn out so realistic. You're going to be amazed. The first thing we're going to do is make our own mold. I'll show you a really quick and easy way to do that, and then we'll make some fake Oreos. So let's get to it. So I'm going to use a paper plate here, and I'm going to put some cornstarch on the plate. And I'm going to put quite a bit. And then the next thing I'm going to add is some silicone. This is all-purpose silicone. Make sure that it says 100% silicone. So I'm going to make a mini and a regular sized Oreo mold. So I'm going to put quite a bit in here so that I have enough to make both of those on one mold. I think that should be enough. And now I'm going to put some gloves on because this stuff is really stinky. Make sure you're in a well ventilated room, or if you can do it outside, that's good too. Just somewhere where you're not going to be breathing the fumes in so much. Okay, so I'm going to coat my glove with some cornstarch, and then I'm going to coat the top of the silicone before I start touching it because the stuff is so sticky it just makes a mess. So get it nice and coated, and then you can start working with it. And so what we're going to do is just basically like knead in the cornstarch like you're making dough. And just keep working with it until it gets firmed up. And you can see I had no cornstarch under, so it's sticking to my plate. So just try to keep it coated in cornstarch as you're working with it so that it doesn't start sticking to everything. And it's starting to get firm right here. I mean, it's still squishy, but it's starting to firm up. I can tell it's not nearly as sticky. Starting to form like a dough. Now I had made one of these previously and it turned out pretty stiff. So I'm going to watch. I don't want to get too much cornstarch in here and make it too firm because I think that's going to cause that to happen. Okay, I think this is pretty good. I'm going to color this just because I want it to look pretty. So I'm just going to put a little pink paint in. You don't have to do that. It'll just turn out this kind of yellowy white color if you don't. Okay, so I'm going to roll this into a little ball and then just kind of flatten it out a little bit. We're going to press the Oreos into here. So I have a mini Oreo and then a regular sized Oreo that I went through the pack and I picked out the ones that looked the best, that weren't like cracked or didn't, you know, some of them are like kind of scraped up or whatever. So I picked out two really good ones. And so I'm just gonna press it in. Make sure to leave a little bit of space around the edge. So I'm just gonna press it down, and I only want to press it until it's even with the silicone. And I'm gonna kind of press that up there. I just want to make sure it gets all of those little details on the sides. Okay, and then I'm going to put the little one right next to it. Okay, and then that we're just going to set aside for probably like 20 to 30 minutes, and it'll harden up, and then we can take the Oreos out. I'll show you that in a little bit, but we're going to move on and go ahead and use the one that I have already made. So this is the one that I already made. So we're going to use clay to make these Oreo cookies, and so I have Modelite that I'm going to use. You can use Model Magic, you can use polymer clay, any kind of clay that you want should work. And I just have a small piece here, and this should be enough to do 2 Oreo pieces, the small one and the large one. So just work with your clay and get it nice and pliable. The way that I usually do this is I put a little bit of cornstarch on the mold. And how I do this is I use a toothbrush, and then I just dip it into my cornstarch, and I brush it in there. Now, the thing is, you don't want a bunch of cornstarch like this, because then it's going to fill in all those holes that you have that you want, you know, all the little details for your Oreos. So just dump out the excess, brush off the excess, and then get it all out of there. And then that should be perfect. Like, it's just enough that it's not covering any of the details, but it's enough to let these pop right out of here. So just roll your clay into a little ball, and then I press mine out a little bit and kind of get it to a similar shape before I start pressing it in. And then I just press and make sure it goes over to all those little edge details. Press it down really good. You want to make sure it gets all the little Oreo details. And try to make it as flat as possible on the back, because when you assemble these, you don't want it to be too lumpy. And make sure it's inside of the indentation. Okay, then we'll just do the little baby one too. Okay, and then you can just pop it right out of there just like that. Isn't that so awesome? Like, it is just so cool to me that you can just get that kind of an impression just like that. Now, another thing that you can do, which I have not tried, but a viewer told me this in the comments, is that once you have your clay in there, you can pop this in the freezer for a few minutes, and then it'll pop out really easily that way too. So that's another way you could also try. So there are the little Oreo pieces, and now we have to make the filling. So for the filling, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can do this. So these are the ones that I made yesterday. So this one's like a double stuffed Oreo. See how thick it is? That's my favorite kind though, of course. The filling's the best part. And then this is the other one. So see how the edge of this is kind of like rounded a little bit? The filling part is kind of rounded. So I'm going to show you a way you can get it more precise, and then I'll show you how I did that one too. So if you want to be precise with it, you can press this out. You can actually also use a rolling pin if you want to, and get it, you know, all the same thickness. I'm just going to use my hands. I'm not that precise, I guess. So if you have a round cookie cutter, you could use that. I don't have a circle cookie cutter, but I found this. It's a little top to a mini martini shaker. And so I tried pressing this in like a cookie cutter, and the clay kept getting stuck in here, and I had no way to like push it through. So what I'm going to do is just make the indentation with this, and then I'm going to cut it out with scissors. And then you can kind of go around and just make sure that it's all kind of the same thickness all the way around. Just kind of press it in if it needs to be a little thinner in a spot or something. And just shape it up with your fingers however you need to. And so see, that is like pretty much the exact size. So you have to find something that you could use if you want to do that method. And then you can do the same thing for the small one, but I think it's less obvious on the small ones. Like those are so little. So I'll show you another way to do it for the big one and for the small one. So for the small one, I'm just going to take a little tiny piece here, and then I'm just going to press it out with my finger. And then that is pretty much the right size, it looks like. So just kind of fix up the shape a little bit, and then that one's done. Super easy. That's the easier way to do it. And that's the method I like to use. But I wanted to show you if you like to be more precise and have it look really realistic, because you know the ones inside the actual Oreos are very perfect looking. So you can do the same thing for the big one. I'm actually going to add a little bit of paint to this piece though. I want to make, since it's spring, I'm going to make a little filling that's spring or Eastery colored. So I'm going to put a little, this is lilac mist from Apple Barrel. I'm just putting a little bit of that in, and I'm going to mix it in with my clay. Okay, and then we'll just do the same thing, roll it into a ball, and then we're just going to press it until it's about the size it needs to be and the thickness that it needs to be. Okay. And that's more like the thickness of a regular Oreo filling, not the double stuff. Okay, so now we need to paint once you have all your pieces out. So the ones that I just made, I'm not going to paint those right now because I want to let those have a good chance to dry. Otherwise, as you're painting, you're going to mess up all the little details in the Oreos. So these are some that I made yesterday so that we could put some together. So I have all of these. So I'm going to paint them the regular Oreo color and then the golden Oreo color. So for the regular Oreos, I used, I already have some mixed up because I painted those other ones yesterday. So I'm just going to use what I have mixed here. But I put in burnt umber, and then I just put a little, this is Apple Barrel. I just put in a little bit of black, and it came out the absolute perfect color. That's what I used for the regular. And then for the golden Oreos, I used this Apple Barrel Pale Daffodil. And then I kept adding some of this Territorial Beige until I got the right color, which I think this turned out pretty close to the real thing. So that's how I made both of those colors. I just had to keep adding and adding and then kind of comparing it to a real one just to make sure if I was on the right track, but it actually came out really good. So we're going to go ahead and paint these. I'm going to do one of each, and you need to paint both sides, and you'll probably have to do 2 coats to make it look not streaky. So be careful how much paint you're putting on, because the paint will pool up inside of the little indents in the design and cover it up. So you just want enough to be able to spread it on there, but not too much. And if you get too much, just use your brush and swipe some of it off. I've got these all painted and I'm just letting them dry. While those are drying, I thought I'll show you the mold. It's nice and firm now, so it's ready to take these out. So I'm just going to pop my Oreo right out of there, and then the other one. And then if you have any, like, you can see a little bit of black spots there, so you can take a toothbrush and get those out. And if they don't come completely out with the toothbrush alone, you can run it under water and use your toothbrush and get those last little pieces out, and they'll come right out. I had the same issue with my other one. But you can see this one is more flexible. I didn't put as much cornstarch in this one, where this one's like pretty stiff. So I just wanted to show you that. So like, be careful how much cornstarch you add, because it just makes it a lot easier to get the clay out. If your mold can bend a little bit more, you can pull it back further so that you can grab the edge of the clay. Okay, so these pieces are dry, so let's go ahead and assemble one of these small ones. So I have my little piece of clay. I'm just going to make sure that it fits in there the right size and it looks good. So I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue, and I'm going to put it on the filling part, because I want to put it pretty close to the edge of the filling, but I don't want it to spurt out. So I'm just going to go around the edge a little bit, and then I'll place it right in there. And for this one, my clay is still wet, so I can still, press it around and get it shaped how I like it if it's not right. And then I'm just going to add some hot glue to the top of this too, the same way. And then I'm going to put my top on. And then just press it down. Not too hard. You don't want your filling to squish out, but press it so that it's nice and firmly attached. And there's our little golden Oreo. And once we get these assembled, I'm actually going to dip one and make it Festive, like a chocolate dipped Oreo too. So if you want to see that, be sure to stay tuned. Look at how crazy this is though. This is the real one. And these are the fake ones. Like you can barely tell the difference. And then this is the real, I think I got cornstarch or something on it. That's the real one and that's the fake one. So you can see on this one, the color's a little bit different. It's hard to get, because this is kind of like browned from cooking. So it's kind of hard to get that same look, but I think it's pretty darn close. Okay, so when I did the paint on the inside, I didn't do 2 coats because really it barely shows. I mean, you could go ahead and do 2 coats if you want to, but I didn't really want to put that much effort into something that's going to be covered up. So here's our little piece. This is the one that I cut with the scissors and used the little martini shaker lid. So we're going to do the same thing, just attach it with some hot glue. And then press it down. And then put some more glue. And I like to make sure the Oreo things are facing the same way. I don't know why. It just seems like they should be to me. I don't know if they even are on real Oreos or not. So this one turned out like double stuffed Oreo too. I am like shocked how realistic these look. They're so cute. And I was so intimidated about making my own silicone molds, but oh my gosh, it's so easy. I'm going to be making molds for like everything now. So I hope you don't feel intimidated by doing it. It's like so simple. Oh, that one's really cute with the purple filling. Here are the little Oreos. And then here are the real ones again. So pretty good, I think. And then now let's do one dipped. I just want to see how that's going to turn out. So I have some caulk here that I got at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to put a little bit in this container. Shouldn't take too much to do this, but I want to be able to dip it. I'm not going to dip the whole thing. I'm just going to dip like half of it so you can still see the Oreo sticking out. Okay, so now I'm going to add a little bit of pink paint. So this is Pink Parfait from Apple Barrel. And I don't want it to be too bright, so I'm going to just add a little bit. And then a little bit of Mod Podge, the gloss one. That just helps thin this out a little bit, and it gives it a little bit of shine. So I'm just going to stir those together. And this is a little thicker than what I would want it to be, so I'm going to put a little more Mod Podge in. My caulk is really cold, so I think that's probably why. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. This color turned out really pretty. I think that's going to be so cute. So I have my little Oreo here. Oh, I want to put some sprinkles on too. So I have this sprinkle mix that I made, and if you haven't seen my video for how to make your own sprinkles, be sure to check that out. I'm going to leave a link in the description, and I will also leave a link on the end screen, so you can just click straight from there if you want to. So I don't really have enough in here to dip. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the Oreo thing is right side up because I want to see it looking like that. And I'm just going to kind of spread it on here. I should have mixed up more and then I could have just dumped it right in there. Probably would have been a lot easier. Learn from my mistakes. Okay, so there it is dipped. And then I'm just going to put the sprinkles. Oh my gosh, I am in love. I stuck my finger in it and got some on there. Oops. And for the bottom, I'm just going to kind of roll the bottom in the sprinkles. And then I'm just gonna like press these down so that none of, like some of them are really sticking out, looking kind of weird. Look at that, isn't it so cute? Okay, well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Please give it a like on YouTube and I will see you in the next video.